I'm sitting in my sauna here and thinking about the purification process. So how does it work when we're thinking about how to start purifying our body system and our vessel? What are the top things that we can do to sort of culminate that process? So here are some of my top picks in terms of what I do. First of all, as much as possible, a raw diet. I completely believe in a vegetarian/vegan diet. I really waver between, kind of both. I mean, there's times where I'll be completely raw vegan, and I find tremendous amounts of energy from this type of diet. The reason why, obviously, everything that we ingest is information. So if you think about the light spectrum, the colors of the rainbow, we want to eat everything we can possibly eat that is formed by the natural world, because again, our bodies have millions of years of synthesizing this type of food, okay? And we were hunter-gatherers, 100% of, for sure, that's an aspect. I particularly don't eat meat, or very infrequently eat meat. This is, again, part of the purification process for me, because I want to acclimate my auric field and everything I am towards as much unconditional love as possible. And so, we hear about sacrifice in a lot of the holy books, that kind of thing. But the biggest sacrifice you can make is not taking the life of another. I've never understood sacrificial killings, like to kill an animal because the gods want you to. To me, that's demonic, that's evil. Life is the most beautiful expression of creation, so it makes perfect sense to want to protect and preserve life. To me, that is the closest association to unconditional love. And if we're going to talk about sacrifice, I don't need to eat meat. And actually, this beautiful thing happens. There's so many channels about beauty, anti-aging, skincare, all of these goofy things. I mean, I own beauty schools, all the goofy things that people do to try to make themselves look young and feel young. But really, just having a vegan diet is so purifying and anti-aging. That's really all you need. The other thing is joy. If you are joyful and blissful and childlike, great way to purify your auric field. Just be a kid. Don't worry about the external factors. Don't worry about what other people think. You don't have to wear makeup. I'm not wearing makeup right now. Like, who cares, right? Like, stop worrying so much about what people think. I like wearing makeup because it's kind of art for me, like when I go to work or whatever, I kind of get like my artistic, whatever it is, out in the morning with all my sparkles and whatever. But also, you don't ever want to utilize that as like a mask that prevents you from feeling authentically beautiful. And all human beings are beautiful at every form, at every stage of the game, those people that are our elders, the elderly people with all of the lines and wrinkles, those things are a beautiful phase of life. It shows the character on their face. So don't be afraid to also live out your life in its entirety. So that kind of brings me back to another aspect of purification, which is the aspect of letting go of the worry, letting go of any of those thought forms that hold you in a thinking pattern that is fearful, is self-judgmental, or in some way not liking yourself. Because again, you need to love yourself. You need to love your body before anyone else can meet you in that vibration. Like, that's the whole quest, is you have to be grateful. You have to be like reverent about existence. Like, just, I don't even know if I said this in the previous portion of this, but before I started, my sauna session, just this huge prayer about how thankful I was to our Creator for my arms, my legs, my eyes, my voice, my intelligence, my feet, the experience. I was playing with a bunch of deers in the forest before I had a sauna. It was so cute. There's a mom and probably like an aunt deer that have 3 little babies, little spotted babies. It's a little late for them to be born, but I was communicating with them. It's so cool because, again, like, people have this perception that like animals aren't intelligent. This is totally wrong. So they were mirroring me. So I was standing in the forest and I sat down, and the mom with the babies were coming closer and closer, and they were doing this cool thing where they would stamp their hoof on the ground, and then I would mimic that, and then they would do a pattern. So then they would go left to right and stamp their hooves, and then I did the same thing, and they're watching it, and then they would, prance back and forth, stamping, like deliberately stamping their hooves in a pattern, and then they would bow their head in a sequence. And it was a mirroring sequence. So they were trying to understand if I understood their sequence. And as I mimicked it back to them, they were a bit confused, because I think, again, this is a form of communication for them. And I know I got off on a bit of a tangent, but again, it's that beauty of experience. It's learning that we have to understand, in terms of this purification process across planet Earth, that animals are afraid of us and we're afraid of them. And this is something that has happened due to a lot of incorrect teachings. So the Aboriginal people, the native people of all continents, knew how to live off the land, knew how to understand the rhythms and cycles of existence and the interplay between the biosphere and us being part of that biosphere. It's something that is part of our purification process, is we have to come back into oneness with this very truth, okay? Vibration. So the vibration that you give off is so important. And how can we purify our vibration? So there's 2 ways. Dance, ceremonial dance, or just dancing is huge, because again, we are moving to a rhythmic pattern, and the rhythm of that, and again, this is back to indigenous cultures all over the world. They have rhythmic dance, ceremonial dance. This is part of their connection to planet Earth. So we need to dance. It's literally part of what our bodies are meant to do. The other thing is sing. You have to sing. So again, I was just practicing my scales, the octaves here, while I was waiting for my phone to cool down. But that vibration that you are emanating, so you have the vibration of singing, which is the micro level, which is part of the purification process, because again, when you sing, you cleanse your cellular tissue. That vibration of joy, when you're singing in joy or singing in sadness, whatever it is, that is very healing to all aspects of the body. And then that sort of macro level, in terms of the human expression, dance is another form of external vibration, very important. Both of those aspects, again, singing, dance, hugely important in terms of the purification process. There's other things that you can do, things like singing bowls. Any kind of sound bath will really help to trigger regeneration in your cellular tissue. But remember that you want to be able to regenerate yourself all the time, all day long, and really help to aid your cells in clearing out any of the free radicals, any of the sort of negative vibrations that are existing within yourself. So those 2 things in terms of purification. So the daily practice of singing, doing your scales, practicing your notes, and dancing. Every single day, I make sure that I dance. Really, really important, okay? That I've found for my own journey. Obviously, sweating, drinking a lot of water. I try to have a steam shower or some sort of a sauna every day. Not always possible, but really amazing in terms of just flushing everything out. There's a lot of toxins and chemicals in our environment. So this is one of the things that you can do to really purify your system. Our environment right now is laden with heavy metals, and we want to be able to get as much of this heavy metal or calcification out of our body. So again, some of the things that affect our glandular systems is the calcification of glands. So whether it's the pineal gland, whether it's other glandular systems, there's things like fluoride in the water. I know I grew up in a city, Calgary, which since I was a little girl, we had mandatory fluoride in the water. I don't know why it was put in. It was supposed to be to make our teeth hard. That's great because again, it's kind of that calcification process. Our teeth were nice and cavity free, but it also affected the glandular systems in our bodies. So I'm, actively always going through the process of trying to heal the damage that was done. Now I have a mountain property. I'm able to get fresh spring water out here. Anybody that comes to the ranch notices an immediate difference between the water. It tastes alive. It tastes vibrant. Like it just has a sweet, mineralized taste to it. And I always feel just so much calmer and so much more at peace when I'm drinking this water. And I'm actually going to take some home with me in bottles for my week as well this week. So again, the type of water that you're taking into your body is hugely important because you don't want it to be filled with chlorine and you don't want it to be filled with all of these chemicals, these heavy metals that modern society uses to get rid of bacteria and growth. This is the other reason that we have so many problems with our defense systems, our immune systems, is because we're living in little bubbles. It's great to wash your hands. Okay, I agree with that to a certain extent, but I also feel like the more dirt you eat and the more you get dirty and your system is exposed to the things, then your immune system knows how to do its job. So I don't like to live in a bubble. I've always gotten my hands dirty, whether I was on a construction site or doing artwork or rolling around in the ground, having my animal care companies, things that I've done, veterinary medicine, I've been in surgeries. You have to get dirty in life. I mean, it's just really ridiculous that people in the modern day are so afraid of germs and life and all that it is. So part of, the purification process is also the strengthening process of our bodies. This is crucially important to our overall health. What else would be kind of integral in terms of the purification process? Light, okay? We all know that light is amazing for us. I do not understand this whole idea that we should stay out of the sun. The sun gives life. The sun photosynthesizes. It makes plants grow. It makes everything grow. And yet some ridiculous thought patterning has decided that we should stay out of the sun. I don't subscribe to that. I feel always so enlivened when I'm out in the sun. I don't wear sunscreen usually because again, I don't feel that I need it. I enjoy the sun in the purified form that it comes in. I want to absorb. And I want to be clear, I'm not anti-establishment. I'm not against the medical system. I'm not against the government systems or anything like that. I think, and I'm also not a conspiracy theorist, I don't think the government is trying to hurt us. Or I don't think that, there was some big master plan to indoctrinate mankind. I think human beings experiment with things and it's trial and error. I run many employees in my companies. It's difficult to manage a handful of employees. It's difficult to manage 70 people across Canada, or with students. So imagine a government system. It's just difficult to create that level of infrastructure. And because of the mechanism of greed, a lot of times I think what happens is that contracts are given to companies that maybe don't know the full scope of what they're doing, like putting fluoride into the water system. It seems like a good idea. They don't really have enough empirical long-term evidence, so they do it. They don't really know the consequences. So I don't believe that it's a conspiracy. I think it's ignorance and stupidity and jumping the gun on some of these things before we really know the long-term consequences. And then we have to circle back and make better decisions, okay? There are things that are amazing in terms of what we've done with the advances in modern medicine. I mean, it's incredible, but there are things that, again, don't make a lot of sense. One of them being the whole thing about not going into the sun. I'm going to go into the sun. You know, I'm going to wear a hat for sure, but I'm going to get the sun on my skin. The other thing that is incredibly good for you is getting your feet in the ground, on the ground with no shoes. Every other animal is grounded constantly because they don't wear rubber soles. They're connected into Earth's magnetic field. And we are part of this biosphere. So when we are removing ourselves from that connected electromagnetic energy, we are not grounded, okay? So again, I will sit and meditate in the grass. I will walk around with no shoes on. I like to do this as much as possible, especially when I'm in prayer or anything else. I will lay my body flat on the ground and just absorb the resonance of the Earth's electromagnetic field. It helps with heart coherence. It helps with our brain's cycles. It helps with sleep. So another thing that you can do to regulate your internal rhythms. Now, breath work, deep breathing, making sure that you are taking deep breaths. In our frantic modern life, we have a tendency to have a very shallow breathing. So it's due to, again, the rapidity of information. It's due to the speed at which we are trying to do things so that we can get ahead. It's all of these different things.